The vice president today was extraordinary. I think unprecedented in the history of the country for a vice president to host a show, bring in all these guests, and say the kind of things he did. He was at times emotional, at times very angry. I want to just play a little bit of angry here. He talked, I'm not going to play this, but he talked about the things shouted at his children, his young children at Disney World when they went to visit. But here's this number 8, Sam. This is the vice president talking about the need for unity, an angry vice president. Number 8, please.
There is no unity with people who scream at children over their parents' politics. There is no unity with someone who lies about what Charlie Kirk said in order to excuse his murder. There is no unity with someone who harasses an innocent family the day after the father of that family lost a dear friend. There is no unity with the people who celebrate Charlie Kirk's assassination. And there is no unity with the people who fund these articles, who pay the salaries of these terrorist sympathizers, who argue that Charlie Kirk, a loving husband and father, deserved a shot to the neck because he spoke words with which they disagree. Did you know that the George Soros Open Society Foundation and the Ford Foundation, the groups who funded that disgusting article justifying Charlie's death, do you know they benefit from generous tax treatment? They are literally subsidized by you and me, the American taxpayer. And how do they reward us? By setting fire to the house built by the American family over 250 years. I am desperate for our country to be united in condemnation of the actions and the ideas that killed my friend. I want it so badly that I will tell you a difficult truth. We can only have it with people who acknowledge that political violence is unacceptable, and when we work to dismantle the institutions that promote violence and terrorism in our own country.
Okay, and play number 6, please. This is Stephen Miller with the vice president on the same program.
Walk me through at a high level, like what you and I have been working on, what the whole administration has been working on to try to make sure that we don't reward and promote this craziness.
So it's an excellent question. I said this before, and but it bears repeating. The last message that Charlie sent me was, I think it was just the day before we lost him, which was that we need to have an organized strategy to go after the left-wing organizations that are promoting violence in this country. And I will write those words onto my heart, and I will carry them out. If people ask me, what emotions I'm feeling right now, this is something people say. I mean, you kind of know the answer. There's incredible sadness, but there's incredible anger. And the thing about anger is that unfocused anger or blind rage is not a productive emotion.
Right.
But focused anger, righteous anger, directed for a just cause is one of the most important agents of change in human history.
Charlie showed that. Amen.
And we are going to channel all of the anger that we have over the organized campaign that led to this assassination to uproot and dismantle these terrorist networks. So let me explain a little bit what that means. So,
I've got 30 seconds, so be quick, Stephen.
The organized doxing campaigns, the organized riots, the organized street violence, the organized campaigns of dehumanization, vilification, posting people's addresses, combining that with messaging that's designed to trigger and incite violence, and the actual organized cells that carry out and facilitate the violence, it is a vast domestic terror movement. And with God as my witness, we are going to use every resource we have at the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and throughout this government to identify, disrupt, dismantle, and destroy these networks and make America safe again for the American people. It will happen, and we will do it in Charlie's name.
Okay, so a couple things. First of all, right now there's a memorial service on Capitol Hill. Just a handful of Democratic members of Congress showed up. The speaker's leading that. And as we were listening to Stephen Miller there, in my inbox comes an email, not a personal email, but a group email from Gavin Newsom. Subject line, Stephen Miller, responding to Stephen's appearance on the Vice President today on Charlie's show. Wake up, America. The reaction from folks like Stephen Miller isn't about crime and safety. It's about dismantling our democratic institutions. Hogan, I hear from Democrats all day. They're really upset that in their view, the federal government's going to be used to enact a political agenda. What can you say to explain to folks what this is about and maybe make them less upset?
Well, I don't know what they're upset about. That's confusing to me. And Gavin Newsom, of course, that makes no sense whatsoever because that's not what Stephen Miller's saying. This is exactly what happens. The left is blowing this out of proportion as though it's going to be some type of militarized effort against law-abiding citizens. What Stephen Miller and the vice president are clearly talking about has to do with people who are perpetuating, planning, executing violence in this country through various means and methods. The organizations that help them, that fund them, that teach them, that train them, this is obviously a problem in this country. And if it gets exposed and it gets brought to light and the people get to see just how problematic this has become and is, I mean, we can't keep having conversations about the radicalization of individuals or groups of people and not ask the question, how does this happen? Is it just organic online? Possibly. There are some like that, but some of this is orchestrated. Some of this is done intentionally. And if Stephen Miller and the administration can root that out, I don't know what Gavin Newsom's problem is.
Okay, Michael, I want you to either comment on this or maybe ask Hogan a question. Before you do, a few things. First of all, you heard the vice president refer to an article funded by Soros. That's an article in the Nation magazine that was pretty negative, I'll say, about Charlie Kirk. And here's a little bit of video from Capitol Hill from the memorial service. The vice president, a little hard to hear, but he calls Charlie Kirk a happy warrior. Let's just play just a bit of that ceremony. And then Michael.
In Charlie's own words, he was motivated by love. He believed in the words of.
Okay, you just get a sense of the scene there. Michael, question for Hogan or comment on this thing that has a lot of Democrats upset and a lot of Republicans pretty fired up.
Well, so I still need to learn more about this sort of Soros Ford Foundation connection, and just read more about it. But I don't disagree with a lot of what the vice president said. I really empathize with his passion. My concern is that I didn't see a ton of this emotion from, Team Red when it came to previous acts of political violence. I just think we can't only hate violence when it happens to our side. We have to be against it, whether people are attacking the Capitol or whether they're lighting Elon Musk's cars on fire, whether they're trying to execute a congresswoman at point blank range in the head at a grocery store, or when there is an actual assassination. And I'm a little bit struck that both sides really seem to be having a hard time understanding each other because it's been so, because both sides have been such victims of this. I mean, we do have to keep in mind that the assassination attempt on President Trump, the person who assassinated him was also stalking President Biden. A lot of these cases are not always acts of political violence, but acts of violence.
Yeah.
And we just need to be against that altogether. But like hearing the vice president talk about what he experienced at Disney World reminded me about 6 years ago, actually, when Hogan was in the White House, I think, and his boss, when Sarah Sanders was heckled with her family. And I was horrified. I was embarrassed and I was horrified by it. I actually, at that point, I'm a Democrat and I wasn't a Trump supporter, but I was really, really struck by it and really embarrassed by it.
Yeah.
And I can't remember, but was that before or after Maxine Waters told Democrats to make sure you cause a scene, find people in the Trump administration and get in their faces, tell them they're not welcome here anymore? This is the kind of stuff that we view as not just problematic, but extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
And it happens so often at this point in time. And what there will be a tendency for many to say this is a problem on both sides. There'll be a tendency on the left to say it's the problem of the right. There's many people on the right are going to say it's a problem of the left. The data and the statistics, I think, over the course of the next several days, the clips that live in perpetuity on the web, the internet, if you will be played out. And you're going to see a much different situation, I think, on both sides of this political aisle. And for the life of me, Michael, and you and I have been friends for a while, you just said something that was so poignant, and it was, you basically point out we've lost this ability to understand one another. And I would argue in large part that has to do, we don't communicate with each other anymore, but for the tapping on a screen or a Twitter post, whereas that's what Charlie Kirk was doing. Come and prove me wrong. Let's have this conversation. Let's have civil debate. And countless times, people who did not like him, despised him, they still left and everything was okay. No one lost anything crazy here except the debate. This is why I think, to me, people are so enraged by this whole process. There was someone trying to bring this back to have a conversation in public, in a civil manner, and just let the facts fall where they may.
Cozy Earth makes incredible products. You can buy them on the interweb, and we're going to give you 40% off, including their bedding, softest sheets I've ever slept in. Very nice. And of course, shirts, pajamas, all sorts of things. But as you know, I'm a big fan of the pants, the Cozy Earth pants, everything made from viscose from bamboo, whisks away moisture and heat, and just comfortable. And they look great. Wherever you wear them, they look great. So right now, if you want to get any of the stuff, please go to cozyearth.com and put in the code TWOWAY for 40% off. You won't regret it. Trust me, many of you have already done it. And many of you have sent me texts and emails saying, Mark, so surprised how right you were. Not that they didn't trust me, but they thought I wasn't even being gracious enough and declaratory enough. So again, go to cozyearth.com right now. Great stuff, especially the pants, including the pants, 40% off. Built for real life, made to keep up with yours. Cozy Earth, thank you for your attention to this matter. Want more great clips like that? I've got an idea. Hit the subscribe button, be part of the Two-Way community, never miss a clip, and you can always watch our full episodes, join them live, go to twoway.tv.